The world is becoming increasingly urbanized. Since 2007, more than half the world's population has been living in cities, and that share is projected to rise to 60% by 2030. Cities and metropolitan areas are powerhouses of economic growth, contributing about 60% of global GDP. However, they also account for about 70% of global carbon emissions and over 60% of resource use. Rapid urbanization is resulting in a growing number of slum dwellers, inadequate and overburdened infrastructure and services, such as waste collection and water and sanitation systems, roads and transport, worsening air pollution and unplanned urban sprawl. Targets of Sustainable Development Goal 11 are as follows. 11.1. By 2030, ensure access for all to adequate, safe and affordable housing and basic services and upgrade slums. 11.2. By 2030, provide access to safe, affordable, accessible and sustainable transport systems for all, improving road safety, notably by expanding public transport, with special attention to the needs of those in vulnerable situations, women, children, persons with disabilities and older persons. 11.3. By 2030, enhance inclusive and sustainable urbanization and capacity for participatory, integrated and sustainable human settlement planning and management in all countries. 11.4. Strengthen efforts to protect and safeguard the world's cultural and natural heritage. 11.5. By 2030, significantly reduce the number of deaths and the number of people affected and substantially decrease the direct economic losses relative to global gross domestic product caused by disasters, including water-related disasters, with a focus on protecting the poor and people in vulnerable situations. 11.6. By 2030, reduce the adverse per capita environmental impact of cities, including by paying special attention to air quality and municipal and other waste management. 11.7. By 2030, provide universal access to safe, inclusive and accessible, green and public spaces, in particular for women and children, older persons and persons with disabilities. 11.a. Support positive economic, social and environmental links between urban, peri-urban and rural areas by strengthening national and regional development planning. 11.b. By 2020, substantially increase the number of cities and human settlements adopting and implementing integrated policies and plans towards inclusion, resource efficiency, mitigation and adaptation to climate change, resilience to disasters, and develop and implement, in line with the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015 to 2030, holistic disaster risk management at all levels. 11.c. Support least developed countries, including through financial and technical assistance, in building sustainable and resilient buildings utilizing local materials. A sustainable city is one that respects sustainable development priorities from their social, economic and environmental perspective, and that allows its inhabitants to live in good conditions and in harmony with their surrounding nature. Nowadays, half of humanity, 3.5 billion people, live in cities. By 2030, almost 60% of the world's population will live in urban areas. In the next few decades, 95% of this urban expansion will take place in the developing world. 828 million people live in slums today, with this figure constantly increasing. The world's cities occupy just 3% of the Earth's land, but account for 60 to 80% of its energy consumption and for more than 70% of its carbon emissions. Quality education provides the appropriate tools to ensure the monitoring of waste management and air quality. It prepares communities to manage their resources properly and tackle climate change. Through participatory approaches, communities are engaged in discussions and in planning activities for the improvement of their own cities. By means of field trips and gardening activities, children at early childhood learn about natural cycles and systems. They are able to participate in eco-projects under adult supervision, thereby awakening their creativity and problem-solving abilities. At the same time, in a natural way, they learn to show empathy towards other people and their surrounding environment. At primary education level, kids get acquainted with the nature and components of cities and of our basic needs as humans, including for food, housing, energy, transport and water. They develop their understanding of the multicultural nature of cities and towns, while becoming aware of the importance of sustaining their immediate natural environment. The understanding of basic human needs is deep in its secondary education stage, as well as the knowledge of how these are addressed in local urban, peri-urban, and rural settlements. On this basis, kids are capable of contextualizing these human needs within the needs of the greater surrounding ecosystems, and become more interested in and responsible for protecting their immediate environment. Education is at the heart of sustainable development and the SDGs. For people to live sustainably, they need to learn. Certain key skills, values, and attitudes are required to meet the challenges of people's daily lives and to contribute to the creation of sustainable societies. But in today's fast-changing world, where social, economic, and political norms are constantly being reshaped, people also need to reevaluate and refresh their learning continuously throughout their lives. Lifelong learning can be a critical resource in supporting individuals and communities to achieve sustainable social and economic advancement. Cities are key centers of thought and action when it comes to education and learning about sustainable development. Mayors and elected officials can use ESD as a tool for achieving the 17 SDGs and for making cities and communities more inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. Education and lifelong learning are essential components of everyday city life, so that urban communities can create sustainable and harmonious societies that embody the principles of social justice, ecological resilience, economic productivity, political participation, and cultural vibrancy. Learning to live together sustainably in cities and communities is one of the most important educational challenges of our time.